99.7 WTN. My name is Chris Hand. Good morning. How are you? Mac Maury producing, Ken Weaver in the newsroom. You on the phone lines and the super text line at 615-737-9986. Got a fun show today. We're going to talk about Tucker Carlson. Tucker Carlson, that's the Boston sneaking out. Did you hear that? Carlson. Tucker finally taking off the mask and revealing that he's a Russian agent once and for all. Did you know that?
I knew it.
We always felt that was the case.
Yep.
Now we have definitive proof.
Finally.
CNN exposed that dirtbag. So we'll cover that.
Crazy.
They called us conspiracy theorists. He said they called us crazy. So we're going to talk about that. Scott DesJarlais is going to be joining the show at 10:35. Congressman DesJarlais to talk about all those migrants, illegal aliens being sent to Middle Tennessee. Specifically, the DHS letter that talked about Nashville, Davidson County, Franklin, and Murfreesboro, where that's me and Scott's stomping ground, Murfreesboro. People in Murfreesboro aren't happy about it. People in Middle Tennessee aren't happy about it. We're going to talk to Scott DesJarlais about what can be done about it. Plus, we're going to get his take on the bipartisan border bill. It's bipartisan. See what he thinks about that. And, any questions that you have for Scott DesJarlais, please jump on the text line or on the phone line, 615-737-9986. I'll be happy to ask those questions. This is the first time I get to talk to Scott. So see how it goes. I'm excited to see what he has to say. He did send a letter. WSMV was covering that. They told me that WSMV didn't cover the entirety of what he sent to DHS. So we'll let him say exactly what he wants to talk about. Hey, by the way, did you see on the super text line? Todd is already here.
Let's go, Todd. Got that clock working right.
He says he's here because he's on vacation.
Hey, good for you, Todd.
Way to go, Todd.
That's awesome.
Spending your vacation with us. It's
no, that's awesome. Thank you. We appreciate it.
Yeah. 6975 on the super text line said, your man crush on Tucker Carlson is killing me. What do you want? I just said he's a Russian agent. I don't have any man crush on Tucker Carlson. All right, so we'll talk about Tucker. I also want to talk about this border bill. Let's start with Chuck Schumer. Old Chuck, he was talking to Mika on Morning Joe. And he was defending his bipartisan border bill. In fact, Mika, she said it's the most bipartisan border bill, the most bipartisan bill ever, actually. Did you know that? The most bipartisan bill ever.
You've said that you worked very closely with Leader McConnell on this bill. Now that we see what's in it, seems to be as bipartisan as it gets. Why wouldn't both sides really want this to go through?
Well, it's a great question, Mika. Look.
Oh, that's a great question. Why wouldn't both sides want this to go through? I mean, what did we decide yesterday? It was about 78% of the money goes out of the country, and then the money that goes to the border is actually really just for processing and green cards and work permits. Well, who wouldn't want that? Are you kidding me? So bipartisan. It's actually so bipartisan, in fact, that Mitch McConnell has now turned his back on the border bill. Yes, Minority Leader Mitch McConnell made the shocking decision to recommend Republicans block the advancement of the Senate pro-migration border bill. This is from Breitbart News. They say the first procedural vote is set for Wednesday. It is unknown if Senate Minority Leader McConnell will, he's saying he won't pass it, but they don't know if Majority Leader Chuck Schumer will forge ahead. McConnell cited the overwhelming number of Senate Republicans planning to vote against the measure, either on substance or because they want more time, according to Punchbowl News. The longtime Republican leader has spoken in favor of the deal and did not express any personal hesitations about the legislation to his colleagues. But of course, McConnell likes the bill because McConnell wants to send more money to Ukraine. That's always been McConnell's priority in this, is sending more money to Ukraine. And as we know, the largest chunk of this money in the bipartisan border bill goes to Ukraine. But, McConnell can't take a little internet backlash, so now he's turning his back on the bill. But the bill, Chuck Schumer says it took such a long time to do this. So long for such a trash bill.
It took a long time, 4 months of arduous negotiations. They fell off the tracks a whole bunch of times. I had to be on the phone even at midnight saying, we've got to keep going. Why? We're at a turning point in America. This bill is crucial, and history will look back on it and say, did America fail itself?
Well, I feel like people are going to say America failed itself if this thing ever sees the light of day and goes through. Thankfully, it doesn't seem like that has any chance of happening. Johnson calling it DOA, McConnell turning his back on it. Chuck Schumer, though, is like, I was up till midnight on the phone. We worked so hard. It's a trash bill. But he says it's crucial, so I think it's important to hear him out. Why is this so crucial, Chucky Schumer?
Why is it crucial? Well, if we don't aid Ukraine, Putin will walk all over Ukraine. We will lose the war, and we could be fighting in Eastern Europe and a NATO ally in a few years. Americans won't like that.
Is he trying to extort us? Is he saying that if we don't pass this bipartisan border bill, that we're going to have troops on the ground in Eastern Europe? Is he threatening us? Does that feel like a threat to you?
Why is it crucial? Well, if we don't aid Ukraine, Putin will walk all over Ukraine. We will lose the war, and we could be fighting in Eastern Europe and a NATO ally in a few years. Americans won't like that.
No, so let's do the other thing that Americans would like and just have our country overrun. Americans won't like that, says Chuck Schumer. That's why it's so crucial. You don't want to go fight in Eastern Europe. This is unbelievable. But Chuck Schumer lays it on thick. He says, history's going to judge us.
History is going to look over our shoulders and say, did we rise to the occasion? To his credit, Mitch McConnell did. But too many Republicans, including Speaker Johnson, are just scared to death of Donald Trump.
I just think they don't want to pass a bad bill. And, he says, to his credit, Mitch McConnell rose to the occasion. Well, Mitch McConnell has turned his back against that bipartisan border bill because, you say, oh, they can't stand up against Donald Trump. Oh, Mitch McConnell couldn't stand up to a little internet scrutiny. And he's turned his back on the bill.
Donald Trump has said he wants chaos. Donald Trump has said, well, wait till I become president. That'll take at least a year. Ukraine could be gone. The border will get much worse. War in the Middle East will get worse, maybe bringing us into it. He's doing it all for political reasons.
Oh, it's all for political reasons. It's all Donald Trump's fault. Mind you, the border could be fixed with executive orders and just reinstating Trump policies. But Joe Biden doesn't want to do that, and it's all for political reasons. The political reasons being the invasion is his game plan. And it is an invasion. And you know what? More and more people are admitting that it is an invasion. In fact, do you know who admitted it was an invasion yesterday? On MSNBC of all networks? Al Sharpton called what's happening at the border an invasion. The Overton window is shifting, and I'll tell you what, you might not like Al Sharpton, but he's a smart guy, and he's reading the tea leaves, and the people in his community are like, this is an invasion. So now Al Sharpton is also calling it an invasion at the border.
At the end of the day, senators have to deal with their voters, and at the same time, in the bill, you give money to Gaza, to civilians in Gaza and Israel. But the border, we're looking every day at the invasion of migrants.
We're looking every day at the invasion. Could you imagine even right-wingers saying this 15 years ago, 10 years ago? Now it's being said by Democrats on MSNBC. It's an invasion.
But the border, we're looking every day at the invasion of migrants, and they're playing a time game with politics on this. Couldn't that pressure put to bear in their home states?
I just want to reiterate, it is shocking to hear a Democrat like Al Sharpton call it an invasion on MSNBC. The Overton window is shifting. The public does not like what's happening at the border. Democrats and Republicans alike know that this is a problem. They know it. It's an issue. It's the most important issue as we head towards November. And you know what? Joe Biden could fix it very, very quickly, but he refuses to do so. He refuses to do so. So here we are. We're stuck with a bill that is really a betrayal of the American people, where 78% of the money in this bill gets sent out of the country. And that is the best that they could do. After months of negotiating, Chuck Schumer says he's on the phone till midnight trying to keep this thing on the rails. And the best that they could do is betray the American people. That's the best they could do. This is your political class on both sides, Democrats and Republicans working for this. And now, after some pushback, after the heat gets turned up, the Republicans don't want anything to do with it anymore. McConnell turns against it. There's word that Lankford might even not vote for it. After Lankford defended this bill the best he could, and even went after Elon Musk and criticized Elon Musk over Tesla recalls when asked about Elon Musk's opposition to the bill. That's what Lankford did. But Chuck Schumer, he tries to put the blame on Mike Johnson. And he tells Speaker Johnson, you have to do something about the border. You got to do something.
The bill that you passed didn't get a single Democratic vote in the House or the Senate. How are you going to get anything done? Or do you just want to make a speech as you admittedly say the border's in chaos? Do something about it. Don't just politically posture.
I wish that old Chucky Schumer would bring that same energy for the senile old man we have sitting in the White House on Pennsylvania Avenue. But he won't. But you could literally point at Joe Biden and say the exact same thing that Chuck Schumer is saying to Mike Johnson here.
How are you going to get anything done? Or do you just want to make a speech as you admittedly say the border's in chaos? Do something about it. Don't just politically posture.
Do something about it. Don't just politically posture. And I think that goes to both sides of the ruling elites in the Democrat Party and the Republican Party. But here we are. The best option that we have is to do nothing. The worst option is a bill that's $118 billion and sends 78% of that out of the country. We'll talk to Scott DesJarlais about it in the 10 o'clock hour, see what he's feeling about this. And we'll also go over what Senator Lankford had to say about Elon Musk. Next, hang out with us. It's 9:21 on Super Talk, 99.7 WTN.
Problems in traffic. Cumberland Street at River Road is blocked by an overturned dump truck. This is going to be in Cheatham County. Then in Brentwood, got a crash investigation. The left lane is blocked 65 northbound just past Concord Road. We have that appeals court decision about Trump immunity and millions of vehicles recalled. Coming up at 9:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you, Ken Weaver. It is Super Talk 99.7 WTN. We were talking about this border bill. Adam in Franklin wants to weigh in on it. Adam, you're next on Super Talk. What's up, dude?
Hey, thanks for taking my call. Yes, this border bill is an absolute sham. Schumer is just an idiot if he thought anybody was going to pass that. But my point to that is, you know, we had 25 governors that banded together that said that they backed Texas in securing their border. Why can't we just get these governors to band together and get them where it really hurts? The Democrats only allowed this for power, for census, for voting. Why can't these governors just get together and say, we're going to band together and make state bills where you have to have a photo ID and you have to be a legal U.S. citizen to vote. And if you're not a legal U.S. citizen, you're not going to be counted in the census for jurisdictional power. That's what I think would end this whole immigration crisis.
Well, I mean, it would be a good start, and I get where you're coming from. The census, I believe, was decided by the Supreme Court. And then as far as, you know, it's already illegal to vote if you're not a citizen. Arizona, we talked about yesterday, has that loophole where you don't have to prove you're a citizen to vote in federal elections. But I get where you're at, and it seems like the government is just betraying us with these sham paper tiger bills that really just send all the money out of the country.
Yeah, it's an absolute travesty, and how much it's adding to our federal debt is just, it's nuts. So hopefully we come up with an answer soon.
Yeah, I mean, but hey, who cares about federal debt when we can just borrow from China to help other countries fight their wars against countries like China?
Either borrow from China or print it away, and printing it away, we've seen what happens with that. That's what our inflation is the cost of free money.
I'm with you, Adam. Thanks for the call, man. I really appreciate it. I do want to talk about what's going on with Senator Lankford, and he was defending the border bill with Jake Tapper and taking aim at Elon Musk. But before I do that, this just came across my desk.
Oh, what's that?
Breaking news. Can you give me a breaking news sounder? Come on, man.
Oh, yeah, I've got you.
This is a breaking news update on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Dan Mandis just came in here, and he handed me this piece of paper, and it said, we have another Super Talk live event.
Woo!
Another one, my friends.
Let's go.
It's happening on Super Tuesday, March 5th.
Super Talk on Super Tuesday.
Oh, my gosh. The alliteration.
Come on.
It's going to be super.
It's
Bingo.
It's going to be Super Tuesday, March 5th at the Nashville Palace. Now, this is a free event. It says it on the paper.
Free?
I didn't read the paper, and I texted Dan to say, is this a free event? And sure enough, it was on the paper.
The info's right there.
It's a free event. We'll be broadcasting live as the results come in on Super Tuesday. Everybody's going to have a fun time except for Nikki Haley. I promise you. Dan's going to be there. I'll be there. Matt Murphy, Brian Wilson. It's going to be a night of fun, food, conversation. We're going to shoot the breeze. We're going to talk politics. And if you reserve your table online, you're in the running for a massive hot chicken and barbecue tailgate package for 25 people. It all starts at 6 on Super Tuesday, March 5th. And you can sign up for that massive hot chicken and barbecue tailgate package for 25 people at 997WTN.com. All the info is at 997WTN.com. We'll talk about Senator Lankford defending his border bill by attacking Elon Musk next on Super Talk.
"9:30 on the dot. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Full forecast coming up in 2 minutes. And a 3-judge panel in the U.S. Court of Appeals has rejected former President Donald Trump's claim of presidential immunity as it pertains to his federal election interference case. Now, this issue may still end up before the Supreme Court, depending on how the appeal plays out. General Motors recalling more than 323,000 heavy-duty pickup trucks in the U.S. because the electronic tailgate release switches can short-circuit and open the gates while the vehicles are in park. This recall covers certain Chevy Silverado and GMC Sierra 2500 and 3500 series from the 2020 through 2024 model years. Honda recalling more than 750,000 vehicles in the U.S. because a faulty sensor may cause the front passenger airbags to inflate when they're not supposed to. It covers certain Honda Pilot, Accord, Civic Sedan, HR-V, and Odyssey models from the 2020 through 2022 model years, as well as the 2020 Fit and Civic Coupe. Also included the 2021 and 2022 Civic Hatchback, the 2021 Civic Type R and Insight, the 2020 and 2021 CR-V, CR-V Hybrid, Passport, Ridgeline, and Accord Hybrid. Wow. That's a lot of Honda models under recall, and that's the latest news. Weather is next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
Hey, it's Chris Hand for my friends at Paul Winkler, Inc. We always talk about the education that Paul and his team provide. But here's a great opportunity for you to get that education firsthand, and I want to make sure you know about this new webinar by Paul Winkler called Politics and Portfolios: How to Invest During Election Season. You can register for it now by going to paulwinkler.com/election. I mean, everyone's talking about what the market's going to do this year. Some say markets typically outperform during election years. Others will tell you we're headed for a recession and things are about to tank. But the problem is that so much of the advice you hear comes from people trying to sell you things. Paul takes a step outside of the sales process, and he wants you to look at the academic research. He's going to pull in historical data and break it down with simple charts and graphs. So we want you to register for this new webinar so that you can really get a bird's eye view of what to expect. paulwinkler.com/election. It's going to be live on February 23rd at 12 p.m. And if you can't make it then, register anyway because they'll send you a link for the replay. Of course, I do have to tell you I'm paid every time this ad airs, but as a client of Paul's, he's who I turn to for my info on this kind of stuff, and he's broken it down for me in a way that I can understand, and he can do the exact same thing for you, and he will do it with this new workshop. Register today, paulwinkler.com/election.
And why is it that we only have consequences for actions not in the United States? They, like you said, if you harm Americans, there will be payback. Well, there are Americans being harmed in the United States every damn day. We don't do shit about the border. We don't do anything about crime. When will we send a message to the illegal immigrants or the fentanyl suppliers or the smash and grabbers? Or hell, why not send a message to the people who assault cops? I'm not saying bombing. I'm saying actually creating disincentives, actually punishing people who deserve punishment in the United States and protecting millions of Americans here. I don't want our troops getting bombed over there. I prefer that they be home here. So you put the sitting ducks out there, then we got to go send some virtue signaling message to show that we're doing something and that we know is not doing anything. And then we got to sit here and act like armchair experts talking about this crap for 17 minutes. I'm sick of it.
Woo! That was an all-timer rant from Greg Gutfeld. I feel that in my bones when he says, we got to sit here and talk about it for 17 minutes and armchair this thing. I'm sick of it. It's Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Chris Hand. Now, this is what we do. We armchair this stuff. But I'm sick of it as well. And I'm sick of it when we get this bipartisan border bill that sends all of our money out of the country. And the money that it does go to the southern border, it doesn't do what you think it's going to do at the southern border. Not by a long shot. Yet we have quote-unquote Republicans that will go out there and defend this. They will literally defend this until the cows come home. And then after they get some backlash on the internet, they'll probably vote no. Like Senator Lankford. Senator Lankford out of Oklahoma, he's one of the architects of this bipartisan border bill. This trash bipartisan border bill. And he goes on CNN, which is a red flag right there, and he defends his bipartisan border bill. Jake Tapper brings up the fact that Elon Musk is criticizing the deal. And Jake opens up talking about that Elon criticism.
Here's a claim being circulated on Twitter or X by Elon Musk, who posted, quote, the long-term goal of the so-called border security bill is enabling illegals to vote. It will do the total opposite of securing the border, unquote. Now, I know that Elon Musk is not an expert on illegal immigration or the border, but he has a huge megaphone.
He does.
Explain what he's talking about here. Is he wrong?
Well, let me stop it right there. Now, I agree Elon's probably not the expert on the southern border, but if I recall correctly, Elon has visited the southern border about as many times as Joe Biden has visited the southern border during his term in office. Fact check me on that, but I'm pretty sure Elon has been there the same amount of times as Joe. Does he not have the right to voice his disagreement in this bill? Well, Senator Lankford doesn't really take any of the criticisms of the bill and argue those points. Senator Lankford just starts swiping at Elon by going after Tesla.
Well, I think he needs to go back to doing the 2 million Teslas that are currently being recalled right now to be able to focus in on that. No, it's not focused on trying to be able to get more illegals to vote. That's absurd.
Oh, it's absurd. It's not about getting more illegals to vote. Well, we talked about the loophole yesterday in the Arizona state where you can register for a federal-only ballot and not have to prove your citizenship, and how 20,000 people have registered for just that ballot. So is it absurd?
It's absurd.
It's absurd. He also goes after Elon, and he takes a jab at him about Teslas being recalled.
I think he needs to go back to doing the 2 million Teslas that are currently being recalled right now to be able to focus in on that. No.
Got to focus on the Tesla recalls. Oh. Hey, here's my advice to Senator Lankford. First, actually argue the criticism, right? That would be a good starting point. Do it somewhere where conservatives are going to see you. Secondly, if you want to go at Elon Musk, there's plenty of low-hanging fruit, and a Tesla recall is not one of them. The Tesla recall, a lot of people look at that as politically motivated. And maybe it's not. Maybe it is. I don't know. I haven't really paid much attention to it, to be honest with you. But I have seen Elon Musk supporting a carbon tax to solve climate change. If I'm Senator Lankford, and this is just me spitballing, and I just feel like it proves that this guy's a lousy politician. I go, do you really think I'm going to take advice from a guy that believes a carbon tax is going to solve climate change? That's where I would go if you're going to swipe at Elon Musk. Because in a recent post on his social media platform, Musk shared an 8-minute video explaining the adverse effects of increasing carbon emissions on the environment and actually proposed a carbon tax as a way to solve climate change. So there's a couple things here that just irritate me and mind boggle me. A, if you're going to go after Elon Musk, hit him where conservatives are going to actually listen to that criticism, like the carbon tax. Or go after the points instead of just saying, oh, he thinks illegals are going to vote? That's absurd.
No, it's not focused on trying to be able to get more illegals to vote. That's absurd.
Well, how about, the Daily Caller interview or article from yesterday that we talked about? They have 2 separate ways to register to vote. You can register federally, and that prevents you from voting in state and local elections, but it does allow you to vote in the presidential election. And yes, it's illegal. It is illegal to vote in an election if you're not a U.S. citizen. But the way Arizona has it, basically set up is you don't have to prove you're a citizen to register federally. Whereas to do the state and local ones, you need IDs and all the things. But to register the federal way in Arizona, you just need to check the box, and then nobody asks you any other questions. They say, that's perfect. You check the box. Here's your ballot for the federal election. And 20,000 people have done it that way in Arizona. So is it actually absurd?
Absurd.
It's absurd. It's absurd, says Senator Lankford. Absolutely absurd. If you're going to go after Elon, there's plenty of low-hanging fruit. But he swipes at him that way. But, it's illegal. It's illegal for illegals to vote, right?
It is against the law for anyone that is not a citizen of the United States to be able to vote in the United States in any federal election. That remains so. Obviously, we're not dealing with that.
Oh, obviously, we're not dealing with that. This is the thing that just blows my mind. Either he's uneducated or he's ignoring what we all see happening in real time. I keep going back to this Arizona Daily Caller story from yesterday. It's not absurd. This is a real thing that we should deal with. 20,000 people have registered to vote federal only in Arizona because of a rule that they have on the books that says you can register federally and only vote in federal elections. And you just have to check a box to prove you're a citizen. You don't have to provide any documentation. Or you can register with the state and be able to vote federally that way and vote in state and local elections, but you have to have documentation to prove you're a citizen. And 20,000 people have opted to only vote on that federal style. Does it mean every single one of those 20,000 are illegal aliens? No, I'm not saying that. But the fact remains, if you go that route, you don't have to prove you're a citizen. You just have to check a box. So when he says, oh, illegals can't vote, it's illegal.
It is against the law for anyone that is not a citizen of the United States to be able to vote in the United States.
It's against the law for murder. Thank God that doesn't happen. It's against the law to cross the border illegally. Oh, thank God that doesn't happen. This is what blows my mind. Oh, because it's against the law, that means there's no chance of it happening, right? That's the logic this man is providing. And I'm sorry, I don't believe anything Senator Lankford says anymore, because when you look at the bill that this man worked so hard on, this bipartisan effort that sends 78% of the money out of the country. Are you kidding? You know how you know it's a bad bill? Let me fill you in. I'll tell you how you know it's a bad bill. Alejandro Mayorkas praises the Senate bipartisan border deal. Oh, Alejandro, he's a big fan. Big fan. You know, he's come out in favor of the bipartisan security bill making its way through the Senate. Loves it. Loves it. He actually wrote, the bipartisan agreement in the Senate is tough, fair, and takes meaningful steps to address the challenges our country faces after decades of congressional inaction. It would allow DHS Gov to remove more quickly those who do not establish a legal basis to remain in the United States, reducing the time from years to months. It would expedite protection and law and work authorization for those legitimate claims. That's just, if this guy, Alejandro Mayorkas, likes it, you can be sure that it is hot garbage. He adds that it would make it easier for DHS to temporarily prevent certain individuals from entering the border when encounters are extremely high. When encounters are extremely high. But they're also going to expand work authorization and allow a lot of illegals in with this bill. Plus, again, the thing that blows my mind the most and the thing that I can't get over is that roughly 78% of it goes out of the country. 78% of it goes out of the country. But Elon Musk, Senator Lankford says his criticisms they're absurd. Absolutely absurd.
It's absurd.
It's absurd. 9:51. It's Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Checking traffic, Cheatham County still have Cumberland Street at River Road blocked by an overturned dump truck. Brentwood, 65 northbound past Concord Road. They have just cleared that crash. That's good news for you. Checking here in Murray County, you got some debris blocking the off-ramp, Saturn Parkway westbound to southbound Main Street. We've got a Trump immunity ruling to tell you about. Toby Keith's passing and what doctors want everyone to know. These stories and more at 10 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you, Ken Weaver. It is Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Chris Hand. Don't forget, Scott DesJarlais is going to be joining us at 10:35. We're going to talk to him about that DHS letter saying they're sending migrants, illegal aliens, to Middle Tennessee. Specifically when they mentioned Nashville, Davidson County, Franklin, Murfreesboro, what his response was. We're going to talk to him about the impeachment of Alejandro Mayorkas. They're saying that Mike Johnson's facing a slim margin to pass that impeachment today. Ken Buck, still digging in on that no vote, thinks it's constitutionally wrong to expel Alejandro Mayorkas over the southern border catastrophe. We'll ask Scott DesJarlais about that as well. And anything else you want to ask Scott, send your texts in. I'd love to get your questions directly to the congressman. 615-737-9986. Real quick, let's go to Dave in the borough on the border. What's up, Dave?
Hey, well, I just wanted to say that, it's ridiculous how they're just letting people flow across the border. MS-13 is in Ohio now, as well as in Nashville. But the D.C. Circuit Court just stated, I believe, according to this guy on X called Jin, that POTUS is not immune from prosecution, but he was basically pointing towards President Trump and his, quote, MAGA morons. But what that also means is that Biden is not immune from prosecution also.
That's a good point. It sets up a big precedent. And also what you were saying about MS-13, being in Ohio, being in Tennessee, the gang is active in
worldwide, yes.
Yeah, I mean, they're everywhere. They have activity in 42 states and D.C.
Yes, and there's also been talk that there is active sleeper cells in the United States from somewhere, and that, we probably should expect some sort of, attack because of the border being
I would argue there's probably sleeper cells from everywhere that is currently an enemy of America. I appreciate your call, Dave. Thanks so much. Ken Weaver's up next with the news on Super Talk.
Ten o'clock on the dot this Tuesday morning. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Got the full forecast in 2 minutes. Right now in our nation's capital, a federal appeals court has ruled against former President Trump in the January 6th Capitol riot case in D.C. Trump arguing he should be immune from prosecution because what he did in the lead up to the riot were his official acts as president.
The three-judge panel categorically rejects Trump's claim of immunity, saying it would, quote, collapse our system of separated powers by putting a former holder of the presidency, quote, above the law for all time thereafter. That's an outcome the appeals judges say they cannot accept, and one for which there is no functional justification. Trump now has two routes of appeal here. He can go to the full D.C. Circuit Court of 11 judges and ask them to hear the case. They can decline to take it up. He can also go directly to the Supreme Court, which can also decline to take it up.
Stephen Portnoy reporting. Entertainment news, country star Toby Keith has passed away at the age of 62. Known for hits like this one. He was diagnosed with stomach cancer in 2022, but Keith was performing as much as he could. He had just performed for 3 nights in Vegas in December. His family releasing a statement overnight saying Keith passed peacefully last night, February 5th, surrounded by his family. He fought his fight against stomach cancer with grace and courage. And Keith's death has caused doctors to point out common warning signs. Here's Brian Clark.
Early detection for stomach cancer can be difficult. There's no screening test, and symptoms can take time to appear. The first symptoms might be simple as bloating, nausea, loss of appetite, or heartburn. Advanced cancers often come with more severe symptoms like blood in stool, jaundice, or unexplained weight loss. The disease mostly affects older people. The average age at diagnosis is 68. Men are at higher risk than women.
That's the latest news. Weather is next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Chris Hand. We're digging through these headlines that you heard in Ken Weaver's report. The appeals court denying Donald Trump's claim that he is immune from prosecution in the federal election interference case. So a 3-judge panel of appeals court judges issued their ruling today. They said immunity no longer protects Trump against this prosecution. A spokesman for the former president said he would appeal the decision. But all right. So he's going to appeal the decision. An appeals court ruled today Trump does not have immunity in a case related to the 2020 presidential election. The 3-judge panel ruled unanimously any executive immunity that may have protected him while he served as president no longer protects him against this protection. His case, Jack Smith's, accuses Trump of using false claims of voter fraud to pressure lawmakers, Justice Department officials, and then Vice President Mike Pence to prevent certification of Joe Biden's election victory. It's fascinating to me because, you know, J.D. Vance was making the rounds the other day saying he would have sent those electors back and let them be litigated out. I don't know. Former president's lawyers argue that he enjoys sweeping legal protections unless impeached by Congress and removed from office. Trump could still take his claim to the Supreme Court. So we'll see what happens in that. It's fascinating to watch these legal battles play out. It is also very confusing to watch these legal battles play out. It's like, I don't know which court case we're talking about anymore. It's like, wait, which court case is this? it becomes just wallpaper. Oh, yeah, it's a court case, whatever. Oh, he's guilty, he's innocent, oh, whatever. Who cares? I'm still voting Trump. Still going to do that. Trump has called for immediate debates with Joe Biden. Have you heard this? He wants immediate debates with Joe Biden. Trump said that he was officially calling for general election debates against President Joe Biden, and he wants them to start now. I heard that, and I thought it was actually a good call. Get debates immediately. Get Joe locked into that seat as quickly as possible.
I will veto them.
No, you can't veto debates. That's not how that works.
Don't.
All right. Joe laughed those comments off, saying, if I were him, I would want to debate me too.
That's a lie.
That's literally what he said. Literally what he said.
At least he's honest.
He said, if I were him, I'd want to debate me too. That's what he said.
Why did he say that?
I don't know, but that's what he said.
Donald Trump is ready to debate you right now. Do you accept?
You just look it on radio.
What
Thanks, guys. Immediately.
Immediately?
Yes.
Will you debate him?
If I were him, I'd want to debate me too.
If I were him, I'd want to debate me too, says the senile old man. Did you ever hear Shane Gillis's bit about Trump debates?
Oh, yeah.
He's like, he can debate anybody.
Yeah.
Because he can kind of get inside their head, except for Biden, because you can't get inside his head.
You can't get in there, yeah.
Yeah.
Dude, that's a great bit.
It's a great bit. But yeah, he's calling for debates immediately. Laughs it off. Nikki Haley and her campaign immediately chimed in, saying like, well, he doesn't want to debate me. Mm-hmm.
Correct.
Yep. That's literally, as soon as this came out, that he would call for debates immediately, the Haley campaign, they got all in it. Her campaign actually set up a website. Do you know what the website is?
What?
MakeTrumpDebate.com.
They could at least done Make Trump Debate Again. They could have stuck with the...
Here's the thing. Can you focus on your own website?
Gosh.
Like we do this every day. Could not tell you what her website is.
No idea.
Is it just NikkiHaley.com?
Let me see.
Is it like Nikki Haley for president? Or like Haley 2024? Like, I have no idea.
Yeah, she's got NikkiHaley.com.
Okay.
Join Team Nikki. You can sign up real easy, Chris.
She texts me. She texts me anyway.
Oh, yeah, you're already signed up.
She texts me all the time.
You're already a big part of Team Nikki.
The Nikki Haley campaign, her spokesperson, Olivia Perez Cuba, said, we're thrilled to see that Donald Trump has finally acknowledged the importance of debates. Now it's time for Trump to man up and agree to debate Nikki Haley. Like, nah, hard pass. Hard pass. Nikki Haley, to her credit, she is out there and she is still fighting. But she uses the same talking points every time. It's always the exact same talking points.
The majority of Americans dislike Trump. The majority of Americans dislike Biden.
The majority of Americans dislike everything.
Both of those men put us trillions of dollars in debt that our kids are never going to forgive us for. And we've got a country in disarray and a world on fire. Are we really going to have our two candidates be two men in their 80s? When you need someone who can run 8 years, disciplined, focused, ready to get to work and get things done, that's not being disrespectful. That's just being factual.
I mean, factually speaking, neither of the candidates can serve 8 years. You know, Trump would only be in there for 4.
And then you go and you look at the fact that every single general election poll, he's down 7 points. He's down 9 points on Biden. In some, he comes in margin of error.
Oh, in some he comes in margin of error. I mean, we heard the panic in NBC yesterday. I played the clip where Trump is way up, leading these NBC polls, up by 5 nationally. But yeah, okay.
Some he comes in margin of error. I defeat Joe Biden by up to 17 points. The poll that came out yesterday, I defeat him by 13 points. That's what this is about. There will be a female president of the United States. It will either be me or Kamala Harris.
I don't understand this talking point. It's like, let's find the only person less favorable than Nikki Haley, and let's repeat that over and over again. It's either going to be me or it's going to be Kamala. You decide.
There will be a female president of the United States. It will either be me or Kamala Harris. If Donald Trump is the nominee of the Republican Party, we will have a President Kamala Harris. That's just a fact.
That's just a fact. That's a fact. Trump, I don't know if have you heard him saying anything about Nikki Haley?
No.
It's like, I think Trump is awful. He's like, I don't think of you at all. He doesn't. He hasn't brought her up one bit. I haven't heard much about her at all. I've heard him talking about Joe Biden. I've heard him his take on the border bill. Did you hear his take on the border bill?
This is a Democrat trap. It's a trap for Republicans that would be so stupid, so foolish to sign a bill like this. This bill can't be signed. And it's not only that, it's massive amounts of money going out of town, as we say, going out of town, billions and billions and billions of dollars. And it's so bad on the border. I've never seen anything like it. Actually, it's one of the worst, one of the dumbest bills I've ever seen.
One of the dumbest bills I've ever seen. One of the dumbest. Billions and billions going out of town. And he brought up Joe Biden as well. He did this interview with Newsmax at a couple clips. He brought up Joe Biden and the Biden administration and their weaponization of, well, everything.
This is the worst president in history. He uses weaponization to run for office. Nobody's ever done that, at least only to a minor extent, if done at all. This is third world stuff. He has no respect at all. You talk to foreign leaders, they say, what is this? Is this a joke?
Is this a joke? This is third world stuff. You know, there's more coming out about Joe Biden and his administration and what they're doing behind the scenes. The Weaponization Committee actually revealed that Amazon censored books critical of COVID vaccines at the request of the Biden White House. I thought Democrats were against banning books, right? Isn't that what they're always yelling about? They don't like banning books. Well, it's been revealed that Amazon quite literally censored books critical of COVID-19 vaccines, the same ones that were 100% safe and effective and then never worked and didn't stop anything. They censored those books at the behest of the Biden administration. These findings have been uncovered by the House Subcommittee on the Weaponization of the Federal Government and relayed to the public by Jim Jordan. He posted all of this stuff on Twitter. The Amazon files, you can find it at Jim_Jordan. The Amazon files, feeling the pressure from the White House. Internal documents subpoenaed by Judiciary GOP and weaponization indicate that Amazon bowed down to the Biden White House pressure to censor books. They've been releasing internal emails that they subpoenaed, which reveal the Biden White House was pressuring Amazon to censor books that expressed views the White House did not approve of. Quite literally. Is the Biden admin asking us to remove books? Yes. Yes, they were. And these never before released emails Jim Jordan put on Twitter yesterday, and it shows that the Biden White House pressured Amazon to censor these books. Pressured them. On March 2nd, 2021, an email was fired off demanding to know who he and his White House colleagues could talk to at the company about the high levels of propaganda and misinformation and disinformation of Amazon. Those demands were made by a senior Biden official named Andy Slavitt. Jim Jordan explained that on this March 2nd, 2021, Slavitt sent an email trying to find out who they could talk to at Amazon about all this propaganda. He revealed that in order to weed out books he considered propaganda and misinformation, the White House ran keyword searches for controversial topics such as vaccine and emailed Amazon when it didn't like how the search results appeared. Amazon, he added, was initially apprehensive, but only because it would be too visible to Americans and could cause a fuss in conservative media. But of course, Amazon met with the Biden administration just a week later, March 9th, 2021, to find out whether they should remove the books entirely or just bury them in the search results. Should we hide them or should we remove them? After feeling pressure from the government officials, Amazon enabled a do not promote category on titles promoting skepticism of vaccines and began considering other ways to restrict their visibility. This is the Biden administration. Third world country type stuff.
This is the worst president in history. He uses weaponization to run for office. Nobody's ever done that, at least only to a minor extent, if done at all. This is third world stuff. He has no respect at all. You talk to foreign leaders, they say, "What is this? Is this a joke?"
It is a joke. This entire administration has been a joke. It's mind-blowing to me. Mind-blowing. They censor us on social media. They ban books on Amazon. And then they accuse us of doing the exact same things when we don't want porn being shown to elementary school kids in public schools. Oh, conservatives are banning books. Quite literally, your administration is banning mis and disinformation and reaching out to the heads of Amazon to hide it in your search results. They always accuse the conservative of what they're doing themselves. Because I'll point out, those books that we don't want in public schools, they're not banned in the Amazon search results. You can find them. You can buy them. Not banned. But we get accused of banning books. The entire time, the Biden administration is quite literally reaching out to major retailers like Amazon. And with Amazon, with the fact that it's happening with Amazon, does that mean that it's just couldn't be happening anywhere else? It's probably happening in multiple other places. And they're pressuring them to ban books, hide them, bury them in the search results, put them in a do not promote category. Fascinating. Crazy. It's just crazy. And through all that, Trump still prevails. He's still leading in polls. Nikki Haley, wants to debate. He's like, no. He wants to debate Joe right now. Joe's like, I'd want to debate me too. I can't wait. I pray that we actually do get to see a debate between Joe and Trump, because I want a lot of this kind of stuff to be brought out front. Well, why did your administration ask Amazon to hide these books? Why did your administration ask Facebook to censor American citizens? Why did you ban conservatives on Twitter? The list goes on and on and on. I'd love to see Joe's reaction to it. This is the same president, though, who the other day thought that he had a meeting and was talking to the president of France who had died in 1996. Did you see that?
Oy.
Yeah. Dementia Joe. That's who we got running the show. 1021, it's Super Talk, 99.7 WTN.
All right, we got a crash that is slowing 24 westbound where it merges with 40 to go westbound into downtown. A D.C. Circuit Court ruling in the Trump immunity case. Southern border battle, new developments, and it's coming from the Senate GOP. And the federal aviation directors promising more safety if the agency gets more money. These stories and more at 10:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you, Ken Weaver. It is 10:25 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Mac, did you see who is going to be missing the Super Bowl this year?
Who's that?
Well, maybe Patrick Mahomes' dad because of the DUI.
Oh, he'll be fine, right?
You think he'll be out?
I think so.
All right. Well, Biden has actually made the decision to skip the Super Bowl. He's skipping the interview.
What?
Second year in a row.
This tradition is like new. I feel like it was started, like, I don't know if it was by Biden, maybe it was at the end of Trump, but like the fact that we're already just not doing, like, why do we even do this? This is stupid.
Why wouldn't you do it, though, in an election year?
100%.
There's going to be, what, how many people? Over 100 million people are going to be watching
this. Is going to be the most watched Super Bowl in history.
And it's on CBS.
It's going to be, it's going to be softball city.
So he's like in friendly territory.
It's going to be a pre-recorded, heavily edited interview.
Yes. Oh, man.
And
I don't know why.
It.
That's crazy.
And that's free. That's free. I read that a 30-second ad goes for $7 million this year.
Jeez. That's nuts.
So you skip the free promotion in an election year.
Everyone's going to be watching.
And they're saying that this is a tough re-election battle that he's skipping the interview during.
Why it's the most important election in the nation of the in the history of the nation?
Well, I think it was Kamala Harris said it best. It's the most election in history.
It's
She literally said that.
I think I did too.
Yeah.
It's the most election in history, man.
That's what she said. It's the most election in history.
I mean, can't blame her.
Well, that's a lot of election.
It's hard.
It's a lot of election that we're dealing with here.
It's hard to word it as well as she did, you know.
She did it so good. I wish I had that isolated.
Yeah.
I don't have it. But it is the most election in history. And Joe Biden is not going to sit down. He's not going to sit down.
Sandra texted in, Obama started it, if I remember right. Okay, gotcha. I remember the starting is my only point. Like it wasn't always a thing. Now it's a thing.
Trump offered to replace him.
Yeah.
Oh, really? Oh, wow.
He said it would be ratings gold.
I mean, it would be.
Yes, it would.
The best part would be, I would love for him to say, over 100 million people tuned in for my interview.
Yeah, when we were already going to be watching. Yeah.
You know he would. It would make liberals seethe.
Oh, jeez.
Over 130 million Americans tuned in to see me on CBS.
All of us are like, okay. Well.
He said, Crooked Joe Biden has just announced that he will not be doing the big Super Bowl interview. A great decision. He can't put two sentences together. I love this guy. He says, I'd be happy to replace him. Would be ratings gold.
And he's right.
This is the second time that Biden sat out the interview.
Yeah, I was going to say this happened last year, right?
Yep. Yeah. Why would you skip it?
Yeah, I don't know why. Like you said, heavily edited, softball questions. Most everyone's going to be watching. I was informed by Jason. You're using the term everyone loosely. I assure you I will not be watching. Okay, Jason. You will not be watching.
My wife decided she's after the Lions were out, she's like, I'm skipping it.
Okay.
Like, don't be upset.
You'll be missed.
The Lions got a championship already this year.
Yeah, they can't get two back-to-back, right?
No. I did see, though, and I think this is a smart move, Super Bowl ads are going out of their way to avoid woke politics this year.
Interesting.
They say that they want to appease constrained consumers tightening their belts in Biden's economy.
In other words, we don't want to be like Bud Light.
Yes.
Yeah. Yep.
So people are saying don't expect a repeat of 84 Lumber's infamous border wall commercial or Budweiser's screed on immigration. Corporations are playing it safe this year, relying on humor and non-controversial celebrities, according to a Variety report. I like that idea. Just stay away from politics. Keep it funny.
Yeah, I'm just trying to laugh and watch the game.
Yeah. They
The
say,
last thing I want is my family to start talking about politics to me during the Super Bowl. I will leave immediately. I have other things to focus on.
You don't want people talking to you during the Super
That's
Bowl
true.
at all,
Actually,
period.
No words spoken would
Let's
be great.
fair.
Yeah.
You got an Airbnb. Mac is going to be in the back bedroom alone.
Exactly, pacing.
They say, I think you'll see brands lean into nostalgia, humor, emotion at the Super Bowl. Those brands will resonate with the consumer. Yeah, I think nostalgia heavy is the move.
Yeah.
Especially because, the current year is a dumpster fire.
Yeah, let's not focus on the now.
I think that is a good move. It's 10:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Ken, got that crash, 24 westbound right there at 40 to go west into downtown. And we've got the full forecast in 2 minutes. A federal appeals court in Washington has ruled against former President Trump in his effort to throw out the January 6th case against him in D.C. An appeal is coming. Trump can ask the full D.C. Circuit Court of 11 judges to hear the case. They can decline to take it up. Trump can also go directly to the U.S. Supreme Court, which can also decline to take it up. Right now, The Hill is reporting that Senate Republicans have decided they're going to block a procedural motion which blocks debate from even starting on that bipartisan border security deal. And lawmakers in the House of Representatives holding a hearing on long-term funding to the Federal Aviation Administration more than a month after a door plug blew off a jetliner flying over Portland. Here's FAA Administrator Michael Whitaker promising more boots on the ground at manufacturing locations if they get that money.
The safety of the flying public is our mission.
Now, Boeing's still uncovering issues with the production of its 737 MAX 9 aircraft. And that's the latest news. Weather is next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
Hey, it's Chris Hand from my friends at Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling. Now, the weather is warm, the weather is cold. What are you going to do with your system? Well, the best thing to do is get your system serviced the best way, the Busy Bee way with Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling. Whether you're late on your heating service or you want to be early on your AC, don't wait for a problem to pop up this time of year. Be proactive. Keep your unit in tip-top shape. Now, whether you need that annual maintenance, repair, or replacement plumbing, heating, or air system, call the guys who I trust, Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling. And if you do need to replace your system, you're not going to find a better value on replacement systems. The guys at Busy Bee offer up to 12 months, no payment, no interest with approved credit, and it'll pay in so many ways to sign up for that annual maintenance on your plumbing, heating, and air systems from Busy Bee. Plus, you can always get added rewards and savings by signing up to be a Beehive member. You're going to love being a Beehive member. You get front-of-the-line service, thorough annual maintenance on your plumbing, heating, and air systems, no overtime charges, 24/7, and 10% off all repairs. Plus, they have convenient Saturday availability for those maintenance calls, so you'll never be left out in the cold. Busy Bee, they're your Rude Pro partner. For satisfaction guaranteed, call Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling, 615-775-7833. That's 615-775-7833, or online at busybeehvac.com. 10:36 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Chris Hand. You can find me on Twitter, True Social, Instagram, at Chris Hand on Air. Joining us now on the hotline is Congressman Scott DesJarlais. And Scott, thank you for joining the show. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, Chris, glad to be on. Used to be in this time slot with Michael Del Giorno quite a bit, so glad to rejoin it.
Word. Cool. Well, welcome. Well, I wanted to talk to you about what's been happening in Middle Tennessee with the notice that hundreds of immigrants are on their way from DHS. The letter said that they were on their way in, I believe it was September, and it kind of took a lot of people by surprise. And I know that you're concerned about this letter.
Well, it's interesting that they sent a letter because most of the time they just send people, and we're seeing them in our communities all across the 4th District and across the state of Tennessee. So because they actually sent out a notice to us, I thought we'd take the opportunity to send Secretary Mayorkas a letter to ask him some questions. I'm not holding my breath to get answers anytime soon, but we do need to raise the awareness. I think most people see this crisis. It's getting harder and harder to ignore. Today we're going to be voting on the floor here just in a little while to impeach Secretary Mayorkas, and I know a lot of people see that as political theater. But one thing I would mention that happened last week is that we had 3 different bills that were tough on illegal immigrant crime coming into this country, and what used to be a partisan exercise is becoming very bipartisan. There was about 80 or 90 Democrats joined us to vote for these. I think that they've wanted to back the Biden administration. They don't want to make him look bad going into a election year. But frankly, this is a problem that can't be ignored because it's impacting all of us, and especially here in Tennessee. And when they send a notice that these folks are coming, we know that there's way more than that are already here. But it does help raise awareness to the people that it impacts.
Well, and it's pretty shocking when you hear Democrats like Al Sharpton on MSNBC categorizing this as an invasion, using those kind of words. Do you think that Mayorkas will be impeached? I know that they're looking at the margins, and it looks like it could be slim.
It'll be slim. It'll depend. It'll be a strong Republican vote. I would love to see some crossover votes from some of the maybe border state Democrats. It is an election year, and they want to keep their jobs, and they got to answer their constituencies just like we do. I agree with you. I think it's going to be very close. Sometimes when you're down to 1 or 2 seat majority, people that are out sick or gone for some reason might swing the vote if there's absenteeism or whatever among members of Congress. So it'll be an interesting vote. I think it'll be very close. I hope it happens because they can call it whatever they want, but they can't ignore that this is a serious problem.
Now, you mentioned maybe a couple Democrats wanting to vote with you guys. Do you have anyone on the top of your head that you think could lean your way?
Well, there's a Cuellar from Texas. There's several down in the Texas border states that have been coming out against the Biden policy, so we'll see if they have the courage to do it. Nancy Pelosi's pretty good about keeping her people in line. I don't know if Hakeem Jeffrey will have the same kind of success, but it's if you look back when Trump was in office, and I was looking at the caravans, because I remember they covered the caravans coming through Mexico or Central America like it was the O.J. Simpson chase in the white blazer. And the big one in October of 2018 was 7,000 migrants in a caravan. And, we're talking 5,000 a day. This new Senate bill that I don't think is even going to make it out of the Senate now is allowing up to 5,000 people to cross into our country illegal every day. And you got to ask yourself, why do we pretend to even have a legal immigration policy? We let upward to 1 million people in the country legally, and I think no one is more offended by this invasion than the people who have tried to do it correctly and honestly and follow the rules. They're very offended that these people are jumping line and being released into the country. And just on a side note, coincidentally, the Tennessee narcotics unit was just in my office about 30, 40 minutes ago out of the Nashville area. And I did not know that Nashville is number 2 in the nation in overdose deaths from fentanyl at 754. They are just behind Baltimore. And so it's a huge problem in Tennessee. And I asked the group of 4 of them, if we could do one thing in Congress to help you, what would it be? And they all just in unison said, close the border. And so, I mean, this is as real as it gets, and it's got to be intentional on the part of the Biden administration, that this is not an accident. Trump policies had the problem at least subdued, and now this is just wide open, and people are rushing to the border now for fear of an election year that it could change. And so the problem is going to get worse, not better. And President Biden tries to say he needs immigration laws passed to stop this. That's absolute BS. Just reinstate the Trump policies that he canceled when he took office. This is intentional, and it can be fixed with the stroke of a pen. He just won't do it.
Joe Biden didn't need Congress's approval to dismantle all of the Trump policies.
Exactly.
Now, with impeaching Mayorkas, there are Republicans out there, Ken Buck in particular, who is just a hard no on impeaching. And he says, you can't impeach somebody over policy differences. What's your take on Ken Buck, and how do you feel about that guy?
Well, Ken's from Colorado, and I know Ken. I have not hung out with him, so I wouldn't say that we've had dinner together or anything like that. He seems like he's kind of shifted a little bit. He's from Colorado, and he's leaving Congress, so I guess it's easier to not have to answer your constituency when you're not coming back. But that makes no sense at all. This guy has lied to us repeatedly in hearings, saying the border's secure, as there's video playing behind him of people, just rushing the border. I don't know what they pay him or what kind of conscience he has, but what he says, it makes absolutely no sense, and I think he's broken the laws. We have laws on the books that prevent this, and the Democrats like to say we need comprehensive immigration reform, but Republicans won't do it. We really don't need comprehensive immigration reform. We need to enforce the laws that are in place, and we need to close the border, plain and simple. You shut down the border, people are going to quit trying to come. The Remain in Mexico is working. I introduced 2 pieces of legislation last year, a public charge bill that Trump had tried to reinstate that if you're coming to the country, you're going to be a public charge, meaning you're going to get welfare, which we're seeing left and right. People are getting prepaid visas, they're getting food stamps, they're getting plane tickets, they're getting food, shelter, things that American taxpayers are paying for when they can't pay for their own. And I tried to switch Title 42 from COVID to fentanyl deaths, and that was not taken up by the Senate either. So, I mean, a lot of us up here are trying really hard. Mark Green on DHS is doing a great job, and so we're fighting very hard to raise awareness. And you having me on the show today to talk about the problems that we have right here in Tennessee is really helpful to get people fired up about this and get out and vote, and let's get this problem solved.
Well, and I appreciate you coming on. We're joined by Congressman Scott DesJarlais, and I have to ask, what is your take on this bipartisan border bill that they put up? They say that they need Congress's help. They get this bill, and then 78% of the money goes out of the country.
Right. It's just a vehicle to accomplish other objectives. It really has very little to do with the border and more about helping other countries secure their borders. Even James Lankford, who came in with my class, who helped author the bill with Kirsten Sinema and Murphy, I think is going to vote against cloture today. So it turned out to be a big disappointment. I'm happy to look at anything that will help stem the problem. I know we're not going to get everything we want, but anything that can make it better, I'm willing to take a look at. But this is pure border crap. The devil's always in the details, and there's a lot of devils in this bill, and I don't think it's not going to see the light of day in the House, and the Senate might as well go back to the drawing board. They say, well, put it on the floor. Let's at least take a vote on it. We passed H.R. 2 early in the year. We say the same thing to them. Put it on the floor. Let's see what happens. But Schumer won't do that, and that bill actually has some teeth in it. But again, we don't even really need a bill. We just need to reinstate the policies that were there. There was a peak at the end of the Clinton years. It was getting up towards 2 million, and we're on a hockey stick type curve right now over the last 2-3 years with the entries and the terrorists crossing the border. We have hundreds on the terrorist watch list. It's the gotaways that I worry about, the narcotic officers that are just in here, the people they're catching. They didn't come in and try to seek asylum or use the legal provisions. They're just the gotaways that are bringing drugs in our country and killing our kids and our families and
you haven't even mentioned the amount of Chinese nationals, 28,000, and the maps that are on WhatsApp and TikTok and the hotels in Colombia that are basically occupied by Chinese only. These routes are basically pre-established, are they not?
Right. And they're sending the precursors to the drug lords in Mexico for the fentanyl. This is all very structured and very organized. And the fact that the Biden administration and Mayorkas continue to ignore what we all see with our own two eyes. You got militants from the Middle East crossing over. Obama had a great little scam when he had DACA or Dreamers. He failed to mention, they'll wheel out the cute young kids that are 4 to 6, 8 years old in grade school and show them as dreamers and wanting to be Americans, but 80% were 16 to 18-year-old men that were more interested in joining MS-13 than becoming Americans. And it used to be migrants came to this country because they wanted to assimilate and be Americans and be productive. Now they're just coming here for welfare. They're getting prepaid visas. They're getting plane tickets. They're getting house, shelter, education, free cell phones. They're not a working class. They're just people that are coming here draining the U.S. tax base in a country that's $34 trillion in debt. It's unsustainable. And our schools, I'm getting calls from school teachers in Rutherford County and Bedford County, and they're having to try to put 16, 18-year-old people in classes that have first-grade educations. It's dragging down the schools, and it's disrupting their classrooms, and they're worried that parents are going to be pulling their kids and sending them to private schools, which is likely going to happen. So it's a problem that's impacting us in so many different ways, and you and I only have a few minutes to talk about it, but we could talk for an hour about similar examples of the problems that this is causing.
I'm getting a bunch of texts here on our super text line, and I got a text here from 9774, and it's kind of indicative about how a lot of people feel. The question is, what can we do as citizens to stop illegal immigration in Nashville besides just voting? It feels like a lot of people are just so fed up and they want some actionable items. What are actionable items that we can do to help fix this and demagnetize our area?
Well, put pressure on your elected officials. Look at New York. We have the immigrants that kick the crap out of a cop on the streets on video, get brought in for arraignment, and then are let loose without bail, flipping birds to the camera, and then leave town. And so it's really frustrating because the DAs, especially in the so-called sanctuary cities that aren't happy that they're sanctuary cities anymore, they changed their tune in a big hurry once the problem became theirs and not just the border states. And so being active, going to meetings, going to school board meetings, going to town hall meetings, and holding your elected officials accountable is one thing. And I know you said, what more can they do? But it's hard to take the law into your own hands. But how long is it before you have 10 illegals camping in your backyard and somehow the legal system says you can't evict them? And that's happening around the country. They're literally filling gymnasiums that are supposed to be meant to play basketball, or they're filling airports with people, and that's not the way the system works. We have a legal immigration system. They're ignoring the law. Mayorkas should be impeached over that. Biden should probably be impeached over that too. Because it's an invasion of our country. It's a national security issue. You mentioned the Chinese nationals. We got militant age people from Yemen and the Middle East crossing our borders. We don't know. A lot of those we don't catch. Those are the gotaways. The ones that we do catch, it's like the narcotic guy said that 42% of the fentanyl pills that they're getting at the border that they're catching have a lethal dose of fentanyl in them. So it's amazing we don't have more overdose deaths. And they also said you can't buy pure drugs. If you go out in Nashville, they'll go out and like purchase cocaine or purchase meth to analyze it. They can't find anything pure that's not cut with fentanyl anymore. So, I mean, beware of anything that you get from anybody but your doctor, your pharmacist, because they're everywhere. There's counterfeits everywhere, and people are dying, and it's really frightening.
A lot of people bring up the fact that businesses are hiring illegal aliens, and that's one of the reasons why they keep coming. You know, they're working. What can be done to stop business owners from hiring illegal aliens, maybe on a state level or on a federal level? What can we do?
Yeah, well, I mean, you got to crack down. There's workforce issues in all the states, but we have Americans that can work. There's plenty of jobs out there, but there's always this, Americans won't do this job. Well, Americans will do this job if you cut back the welfare that's given, and sadly now illegal immigrants are getting welfare. But the E-Verify programs and holding people that are hiring illegals accountable is something that we got to make a priority, because you see it everywhere. You see it in the hotel industries. You see it if somebody's doing roofing jobs, and they're tough, dirty jobs, but it's usually not Americans that are doing it. And what's frightening is states like Arizona and California that are letting non-citizens vote. And we also know that non-citizens get counted in the census, and they made it illegal to ask whether they're an American citizen or not on the census, which makes absolutely no sense. But if you're in California and you can run up a couple million illegals on the census, then you're going to pick up 2 or 3 more representatives in a deeply blue state, and they're going to take over more control in Congress. So to me, the overall strategy,
they're just not going to lose their seats because of people are fleeing the bad policies of the Democrats.
Right.
And back a couple seconds ago, we're talking about what can be done to demagnetize. What is the benefit of E-Verify, and how is that really going to change things when businesses may just skirt around it?
Yeah, I mean, you hope that people here will be honest, and we've used migrant labor for a long time. Farm workers, produce workers, building contractors. They've used people on work visas. But if you have a work visa or your H-2A, H-2B visa, these people have been vetted for the most part, and we know they're here, and we know that the employers are paying taxes. So the advantage is that they do get in the tax system and are contributing. And I talked earlier about a public charge. If people are coming here on work visas, we know who they are, they're paying taxes, then that works better. But you've got to crack down on people that aren't doing it the right way. So the system isn't perfect, but it's better than nothing at all.
Have you seen the story in the Daily Caller about the different tiers of voting in Arizona? We talked.
I think I was listening to something similar this morning.
So in Arizona, you can basically register for state, federal, local elections, and you have to provide proof of citizenship, or you can sign up for just a federal ballot, where all you have to do is check a box to then say you're a citizen with no proof. And there's been about 20,000 people that have chosen to register that way. And in a massive swing state like Arizona, that's going to be, really important, critical, maybe even in the 2024 election. Is there anything that can be done to shore that kind of stuff up before we get to November?
Yeah, I mean, if we can't have free and fair elections in our country anymore, we're really lost. We're like a third world country, and it felt that way in 2020. People call folks like me election deniers because I question ballot harvesting and changing the rules on mail-in balloting that happened in October of an election year. And you talk about 20,000. I think Arizona was decided by 11. If you take Fulton County and you take in Atlanta and you take Philadelphia and you take Detroit, there's basically 4 counties that decided the election by 40,000 votes. So it doesn't take a whole lot to do this. We've been working for the past several years to level the playing field in states that it's legal to do ballot harvesting. We need to do ballot harvesting as well. Problem is that the inner cities have more Democrats Democratic votes, and for us to go out and harvest ballots in rural areas, it takes a lot more legwork to get that done. But we've got to play by the rules that are set, and they like to play in the gray zone. We have to play in the gray zone too. But it's very concerning going into the election. Can we get a free and fair election? You see what they're trying to do to Trump with all the indictments, and yet Joe Biden, who probably has a legitimate impeachable offense, continues to run out the clock on the Hunter Biden investigation.
Yep.
And so, it's very frustrating and very concerning for our country. So 2024, it's probably a make or break year for our country. And we got to make sure people get out and vote and stay active, and hope that we've corrected. I know we made some corrections in Georgia, even though the Secretary of State there said that there wasn't any irregularities. Immediately they went and changed a bunch of the rules. So there obviously was a problem. And hopefully that'll correct some of the ballot harvesting that went on there. But, it is a great concern, and we have to play the game the way the new rules have been set, and Republicans haven't always been as good about that. They like to wait and vote on election day. We got to early vote. We just got to overwhelm the system, and I think that the border crisis is probably going to be the biggest issue of the election year.
Congressman Scott DesJarlais, thanks so much for joining us today, man. We really appreciate you coming on and spending a little bit of time with us. Thanks so much.
Chris, appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, man. 10:55 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
11 o'clock on the dot. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Got a brand new traffic problem to report. The right lane is blocked 65 southbound right before 440. And right now in our nation's capital, a federal appeals court has ruled against former President Trump in his effort to throw out the January 6th case against him in D.C. Here's Stephen Portnoy.
Having now lost at this stage, Trump has two routes of appeal. He can seek en banc review and ask the full D.C. Circuit Court of 11 judges to see if they might rule differently than this three-judge panel has. The full court can decline the request. The other option, of course, is the U.S. Supreme Court, which can also decline to take the case. You may remember the judges turned down special counsel Jack Smith back in December when he sought to fast-track this immunity question.
Elsewhere in our nation's capital, Jay O'Brien says top brass at the Federal Aviation Administration's on the hot seat.
Lawmakers on the House Transportation Committee pressing the FAA administrator on a host of recent aviation issues, including a door plug of a Boeing passenger jet operated by Alaska Airlines blowing off mid-flight.
Well, we've had the recent problems, it's obviously not your fault, with Boeing. The 737 MAX 9. We had the Japanese airline collision. Increase in runway incursions have been around for a while.
Ranking Democrat Steve Cohen there. FAA Administrator Michael Whitaker telling lawmakers the agency is adding more boots on the ground to closely monitor manufacturing facilities and developing new technologies to track travel safety.
Well, news of the passing of Toby Keith is prompting tributes from across the music industry. Jason Aldean posting photos of their time on stage together and writing, "You and your music will be forever remembered, big man." Toby Keith died yesterday at the age of 62 after a 2-year battle with stomach cancer. Here's Brian Clark with more.
The American Cancer Society says there'll be almost 27,000 new stomach cancer diagnoses this year and nearly 10,000 deaths. Overall, the number of new cases in the U.S. has dropped by about 1.5% each year for the last decade. Stomach cancer is difficult to detect early. Doctors still don't have a comprehensive screening test. Another problem, symptoms often don't appear until after the cancer has spread. Men are more likely to be affected by stomach cancer than women.
Nashville rapper and country music singer Jelly Roll posting to Instagram that he covered Should Have Been a Cowboy with Toby Keith at every show last year. And that's the latest news. Weather is next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
11:07 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Chris Hand. I just want to say thank you to Scott DesJarlais for calling in and joining the show a little while ago. I do want to ask you guys, though, did you like the interview? What'd you think about it? Do you want more interviews like that on the show? 615-737-9986. Shoot me a text. Give me a call. Did you learn anything new? And how what was your takeaway? Because, I mean, I like Scott, and he's a great guy, and it's not, I don't want this to be it's not a negative towards him or anyone in general, but I feel like a lot of people, a lot of politicians, you can kind of predict what they say or what they're going to say. And maybe I'm more critical of what's happening on the show, and I'm listening to it with a different set of ears. 'Cause I see a lot of people texting in and saying they loved it. James said he loved it. Fantastic interview. Yes, we would like more of that. Okay. 9774 said loved it. 8695 said nothing of value. I'm just kind of torn. I don't know. I think Scott's a great guy. A lot of people say yes to more interviews. Sandra says like Scott, but his attitude is he expects nothing, which means we get nothing. Time to start demanding results. 6768 says just more lip service. Did not tell us he was going to do anything to get results. I'm just torn on it. I mean, again, not a knock on Scott. I think it's just politicians in general. It seems like you can predict a lot of the answers that you're going to get. John in White House, you're next on Super Talk. What's up, John?
Well, yeah, I don't know what to say, but international law says you go to your next county, next state or country if you want to apply for asylum. You can't go through 900 countries to get to here. You know?
Yeah. Yeah, no, I appreciate it, John. Thanks so much.
It's a good observation.
Yeah. Thanks, John.
John bringing the wisdom.
Yeah. I mean, I think I don't know. What do you think, Mac? I'm so torn on that interview.
Yeah, I know. I think you're doing the right thing by bringing those people on here and trying to get the answers. But yeah, I think we know some of just it is what it is. Like those, yeah, a lot of those politicians are going to talk a lot and maybe say less.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
So it's just really, how much, I guess, finding that balance.
6173 said, more interviews, less of you talking. Oh, perfect. All right, cool. Fair enough. Fair enough. Well, I don't have any other interviews scheduled for today. All right. I mean, I think, again, I like Scott, and I appreciate him coming on. But I feel like I get this a lot. And it was the same. I had the same observation with Blackburn when we had her on to talk about the Epstein client list that she was subpoenaing. You get a lot of circular motion in these interviews. Angie in the borough, you're next on Super Talk. What's up, Angie?
I think it was great. I like you to have these interviews. By the way, it's hard to be a congressman, and he does a great job. When I call his office, I get through to him when I have trouble with others, and they respond. I like to know. I know it was things that we already know, but I like to know that's what's going on, and they're staying after it.
No, I hear that.
I like your interviews. I appreciate your show and your station.
Oh, thanks, Angie. Appreciate it. All right. I mean, all right. I guess the majority is voting more interviews like that. Good to know. Listen, I want the show to be for you guys. So, like, if you find value in that stuff, let's do more. And if you're not interested in it, then we can do less. But again, I want to know what you think. So I appreciate you guys weighing in. It's a tough balance on what we do more of. It's tough. It's a weird balance. I'm still getting used to this whole format, as a lot of you know, the first time I ever did talk radio was in January of last year. The first time I ever had a full-time show was here starting in July. So I'm still learning. And I want to do more of what you guys want and want to make sure that you're an integral part of the show. So if you like these interviews, we can do more. 7547 said, who did we interview? Scott DesJarlais was on. 5547 says, I love having them on to explain themselves, just like Murphy and Heidi Campbell. Bring them on. That Murphy-Heidi Campbell interview was something special. If you missed the Murphy-Heidi Campbell interview, it's online, 997WTN.com. 997WTN.com. But yeah, we can do more. Dawn in the Borough, what do you think? You're up next on Super Talk.
Well, have you ever seen that show Survivor?
Yeah.
That's politics. Okay, you're always sneaking around, whispering behind doors and voting against somebody who don't see it coming. It's sad. And the only way I think we'd ever fix it is if we just started from scratch and got real people in there to do the real job with a limited time in office.
No, I hear you. I appreciate the call, Don. Thanks so much. Politics is like Survivor. Politics is wild. I mean, I don't know. I'm just like so torn on this whole.
I know you are. Well, obviously the listeners didn't think it was terrible.
I didn't think it was terrible. I think Scott's great. I'm just more of like, is there added value?
Yeah. Are we actually gaining something? Yeah.
That's just it's a tough balance. I did want to get to the Tucker Carlson CNN melting down. Tucker was in Russia. Did you know Tucker was in Russia? Did you know that?
I did not.
You didn't know Tucker was in Russia?
No.
You're on Twitter?
Yeah, how am I missing this?
Mac J. Maury 25 is your Twitter
exactly
handle.
Right.
Find Mac. And then let him know when next time Tucker's in Russia. So Tucker's in Russia, and a lot of people are saying, is he interviewing Putin? Well, it's actually come out that Tucker Carlson has interviewed Vladimir Putin. A Russian journalist posted on Twitter, as far as I understand, Tucker Carlson got what he wanted. So Tucker reportedly conducted an interview with Vladimir Putin in Moscow. There was a ton of speculation that there was going to be a potential sit-down between Putin and Tucker, and seeing Tucker in the country had a lot of people melting down, including CNN. CNN was melting down about the Tucker Carlson Putin interview possibilities before it was confirmed today. They were losing their mind last night.
A massive shakeup in Kyiv coming as Putin is trying to court the MAGA GOP in the United States. In fact, one of the leaders of the MAGA GOP is in Moscow tonight. It's the man you see here with the MAGA leader Donald Trump, Tucker Carlson.
Oh, look at that MAGA leader. He's in a cult. Look at his stupid MAGA face and his stupid MAGA shirt. Do you remember when he used to wear that stupid MAGA bow tie? MAGA, MAGA, MAGA. This is what they do. But so the rumor was an interview with Putin. It's now being reported that he did get the interview with Putin. But last night when this was airing, CNN was still talking about it being a rumor, and they were not happy about the rumored interview.
Possibly there in Moscow to interview Putin. Definitely there as a Putin-supporting celebrity. Just listen to how Russian state media is breathlessly celebrating his visit.
Independent journalist Tucker Carlson has flown to Russia from the U.S. via Turkey to Vnukovo Airport. He saw Spartacus Ballet at the Bolshoi Theater, had lunch in a nice restaurant, went for a ride around town, rode the subway. He charged his smartphone via a USB port and connected to a fast and free Wi-Fi internet.
Oh, okay. So Russia, they're all over it. He charged his phone on a USB port. He connected to Wi-Fi. That monster. Is there something about USB ports and hacking phones that I don't know? Am I missing that? Is that why that's a big deal? He saw the ballet. This MAGA lunatic must be stopped. He must be stopped. CNN yells, "Oh, they treat him like a celebrity." How could they do that? Well, he's an actual celebrity, so it's not shocking. There was no uproar when Tucker was interviewing Viktor Orban of Hungary. There was no uproar when Tucker was on the streets of Spain with protesters. Why is this so different?
He charged his phone, although they're knowing the details about the fact that it was during USB port may give him reason to think twice about all of this. But look at them talking about him like a celebrity. Everything he does on camera, breathlessly repeated.
Is there something about the USB ports? Are they hacking phones with USB ports? Is that what they're getting at? Even she brings it up.
Give him reason to think twice about all of this.
Oh, he's going to think twice about all this. Charging his phone with a USB port. I don't know. Maybe there's something to that. But
malware installed through a corrupted USB port can lock a device or export personal data and passwords directly to the perpetrator.
So, Russia! You know what I mean? It just blows my mind. Anyway, they're really in a tizzy about all this. And we're learning now that the interview happened. And even before the interview happened, they were using it as a reason to bash Tucker.
Now, it is unclear if an interview between Putin and Carlson will take place. But if it does, it gives Putin a chance to sit down with a big supporter.
It might be worth asking yourself, since it is getting pretty serious, what is this really about? Why do I hate Putin so much? Has Putin ever called me a racist? Has he threatened to get me fired for disagreeing with him? Does he eat dogs? These are fair questions, and the answer to all of them is no. Vladimir Putin didn't do any of that.
I remember that episode. Do you remember that episode? Does Putin eat dogs?
Putin eat dogs.
He certainly doesn't. Has he ever called you a racist? No. Have you ever seen any Putin speeches translated?
No.
He doesn't sound like the evil villain that they make him out to be. I don't think he's a great guy, but it just seems like they need a boogeyman, you know? And Putin is that boogeyman to D.C. And CNN is just so unhappy that Tucker would even think about, doing actual journalism and interview world leaders.
I'll actually always remember watching that clip. I was standing in Ukraine 48 hours before the war began there.
She watched that clip standing in Ukraine 48 hours before the war began there?
48 hours before the war began there. Well, Carlson then stood by Putin consistently all the way through. And that is why he can go to Moscow now without any fear of being summarily imprisoned. He's a hero. This was Putin's mouthpiece in the United States, somebody who had turned a blind eye to the atrocities committed by Putin because they were happening far away.
Oh, he's a Russian puppet, a disinfo agent. I'll say this. One of the reasons why I really started liking Trump, it was years back. He had an interview with Bill O'Reilly, and the topic of Putin came up. And this always resonated with me because we tend to think that, our ish don't stink, if you will, in America. And Trump said this about Putin, and this always really stuck with me.
Do you respect Putin? I do respect him.
Do you? Why?
Well, I respect a lot of people, but that doesn't mean I'm going to get along with him. He's a leader of his country. I say it's better to get along with Russia than not. And if Russia helps us in the fight against ISIS, which is a major fight, and Islamic terrorism all over the world,
right?
Major fight, that's a good thing. Will I get along with him? I have no idea. It's very
He's a
possible
killer,
I
though.
won't.
Putin's a killer.
A lot of killers. We got a lot of killers. Why, you think our country's so innocent?
I remember where I was when that interview happened. And I think that there's no world leader that doesn't have some blood on their hands from something somewhere. And I don't know. Do you like the fact that Tucker could be interviewing Putin? Do you care? Do you want to see what the interview sounds like? 615-737-9986. I got a text on the super text line. 2840 said, remember, Bernie Sanders also loves Russia. Fact check that for me, Mac. It's 1122 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Still got that crash blocking the right lane of 65 southbound right before you get to 440. We've got a Trump immunity ruling in D.C. and Mayorkas impeachment, Republican holdouts. These stories are more at 11:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you, Ken Weaver. It is Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Chris Hand. We're talking about Tucker interviewing Putin and whether or not you think that is bad or good. A lot of people bringing up the hypocrisy. 2326 said news personalities were jumping in line to interview Saddam Hussein during the Gulf War. Plus, how many times did Barbara Walters interview Fidel Castro? Yeah. 4559 said, Chris, you should be fired with this garbage you're spewing about Putin being not that bad. You jumped the shark on those comments. So, I don't know. Never called me no racist. I just don't understand. Is Tucker not allowed to do journalism? Is Trump working with Putin to wipe out ISIS not a net positive? Is the USA working together with another world power in Russia not a net positive? Is it more good? Is it gooder, if you will, to push Russia closer to China? I'm just trying to, I don't know. I'm just asking questions. I'm just trying to figure it out. Is that the move? Did I jump the shark with those comments? I don't know.
4576 says they mad, bro.
They mad. James brings up the fact, what about Biden welcoming China's leader, bending over backwards for him, kissing his butt? Yeah, and they shuffled out all of the homeless out of San Francisco and lined the streets with Chinese flags for that. So, I don't know. You guys tell me.
To be fair, this guy isn't saying that he loves Biden or Biden's great. He's just saying Putin's evil.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yep. I just think I'm looking forward to seeing that interview. Wouldn't that be must see? Why wouldn't anybody want to watch that? And why is CNN melting down over it? Melting down. 1215 says, what does jump the shark even mean? It's a reference to Happy Days. There was an episode late in the series where Fonzie.
I don't even know this.
You don't know this?
No, I just know what it means just because I've learned. But
so in Happy Days, it was like an old show. Do you know Happy Days?
I know Happy Days.
You know the Fonz?
Yes.
Towards the end of the run of the show, he jumped a shark on water skis.
Oh, wow.
It was a bridge too far.
Gotcha. He jumped the shark.
The shark.
Gotcha. Yeah. That's a little too far. That makes sense. Wow.
You get it? So it's a Fonz reference.
Gotcha.
It's a Fonz reference, 1215. Let me know if you need me to explain who the Fonz is. I'll be happy to help you. 3569 says it's better to jump the shark instead of landing on one.
Bingo.
Fact check that, Mac.
7464 says, Mac, don't forget, snow's still wet.
Snow is, in fact, wet.
Dang it.
I'm looking forward to a Tucker Putin interview. I don't know why not. Why not? Somebody said 1967 said, what about interviewing bin Laden? Yeah, didn't CNN interview bin Laden?
I can fact check that.
I'm pretty sure CNN did. They sent reporters and interviewed bin Laden.
Yeah, in 1997.
Okay, yeah.
They were the first to do it, which means that there were others that followed. But yeah.
The monsters. But seriously, like, you're just not allowed to ask people questions anymore? Also, Hillary Clinton sold Putin a bunch of uranium. So it's 11:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
$11:30 on the dot. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Full forecast in 2 minutes. And right now in our nation's capital, a federal appeals panel in D.C. has ruled against former President Trump and his legal team regarding the federal election interference case against him. Trump and his lawyers argued he was immune from facing criminal charges because he was president, acting in official presidential capacity that day. But the panel, in a unanimous ruling, said that the president can face prosecution. Trump can appeal to the full 11-judge circuit panel or the U.S. Supreme Court. House Speaker Mike Johnson's working on some Republican holdouts to impeaching Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas over the southern border crisis.
We had some very thoughtful, intellectual discussion with those two gentlemen this morning.
Not one of them is neither of them are Tennessee 4th District Congressman Scott DesJarlais, who tells WTN's Chris Hanshow.
It'll be an interesting vote. I think it'll be very close. I hope it happens because they can call it whatever they want, but they can't ignore that this is a serious problem.
We'll let you know. That's the latest news. Weather is next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Chris Hand. Carjacking in D.C. Have you heard this? Carjacking in D.C. It's costing a lot of people a lot. A former Trump official has died, Mike Gill, days after being shot in a DMV carjacking spree. This poor guy, married, father of 3, member of Trump's administration, died. Shot in a carjacking rampage. Things that you won't hear on the mainstream media. Has anybody covered this? Have you heard this on the ABC News? Seriously. It's shocking to me. A member, we've heard about members of, I think it was a member of Congress getting carjacked. People in the D.C. political establishment getting robbed. Mm-hmm. People say it's not safe there. Is this the sign of the decline of our country? It feels like a decline. His poor wife, Christina Gill, released a statement saying, "It is with profound sadness that I wish to inform the community of the passing of my husband, Mike Gill. His sudden departure has left a void in our lives that can never be filled. In this time of grief, we are grateful for the outpouring of love and support from family, friends, and the community, and extend our heartfelt gratitude to everyone who has reached out to offer condolences and assistance." Mike Gill, married, father of 3, member of Trump's administration, shot and killed during a carjacking in D.C. Unreal. It shocks me that we didn't hear about this, but you don't hear anything really about D.C. You'll hear it on their local stations. Their local stations cover that this is an issue, the carjackings. And in fact, it's affecting everybody. Everybody's insurance is going up because carjacking is becoming so prevalent in D.C. Everybody's been affected by this.
One woman who lives here in D.C. told our local Fox station that her car insurance premium went up $100 from one year to the next. It was such a drastic increase, she thought it was a mistake, but no, it wasn't an error. In fact, a lot of people are experiencing this. Insurance agents and experts are partly blaming the rise in carjackings and car thefts for the rising rates. Here in D.C., you mentioned that carjackings almost doubled from 2022 to 2023.
Doubled from 2022 to 2023. Doubled. Unbelievable. And it's, it's not just D.C. You're seeing crime all over the place in these blue cities because of weak, ineffective leaders. In New York City, there's a video of a woman being robbed and dragged by a moped, an elderly woman. And she's dragged by this moped until she slams into what looks like a street light. Just dragged. And they're trying to make arrests in that case, and they're blaming it on organized illegal aliens. But I think the blame is ineffective leadership. DAs that don't process crime. They don't prosecute people anymore. Mayor Eric Adams, he takes a lot of heat for that in New York City. And he says that he knows why people hate him. But you want to take a couple guesses why people hate him?
Can't quite put my finger on it.
Stand up. They need to see you. Deputy Mayor Williams Ison, Deputy Mayor Mira Josie, Deputy Mayor Amazar, Deputy Mayor Maria Torres Springer. Have you ever seen this much chocolate leading the city of New York? And then go down the line. Look who's here. This is representative of the city. That's why people are hating on me. You trying to figure out?
Oh. It has nothing to do with the fact that these cities are failing. It's because he's black.
Have you ever seen this much chocolate leading the city of New York?
I don't really have an answer for that. But it's not just because he's black. He also points out it's because he's like Jesus.
They hating on me because how many of you go to church? Man, this is a Matthew 21:12 moment. Jesus walked in the temple. He saw them doing wrong in the temple. He did what? He turned the table over. I went to City Hall to turn the table over. First woman police commissioner of color. First Spanish-speaking police commissioner. First Spanish-speaking correction commissioner. Go through the line of what we're doing.
Yep, they hate him because he's black and he's like Jesus. It has nothing to do with the fact that these cities are degrading because of crime. And that illegal alien moped gang that I was telling you about, they were terrorizing New Yorkers. They dragged it. The woman was 62 years old. They dragged her down the street. I'm sure you've seen the video on social media. She hits a pole that's sticking out of the ground, and that's the NYPD released the video. They're calling it a migrant moped gang, a sophisticated criminal enterprise made up of newly arrived illegal aliens living in New York City's shelter systems, terrorizing locals on mopeds, including that 62-year-old woman who was violently dragged across the pavement as thieves rode away with her belongings. These are blue cities, but they'll tell you it's not the crime why they're upset with local officials. It's race.
Have you ever seen this much chocolate leading the city of New York?
It's race. That's why. It's not failures. It's not crime. It's race. They've actually arrested a couple people in this illegal alien moped gang, but they say it's a sophisticated gang of illegal aliens. Unbelievable. And it just keeps happening. It keeps getting worse. And the best we get from our elected officials are bipartisan bills that send the most money out of the country. They won't shut down the border. They won't enforce the laws on the books. This is just, it's so frustrating. Do you ever find this just absolutely infuriating? Like, the best we can do is another $60 billion to Ukraine. This is the best we can do. As we look around and we see America getting progressively worse every day. Wild stuff. Wild stuff. And they'll tell you, Trump is bad. Trump is bad. Biden, he campaigns and he focuses on abortion. Not fixing the country. He campaigns on abortion. Quite literally. He was talking about Trump and saying that Trump is against Roe v. Wade. He's for it. And he said, I love how Trump is saying Biden is for abortion on demand. That's not true. That's not what Roe v. Wade said. It said the 3 trimesters. Trump and his MAGA friends are dividing us, not uniting us. So Biden's campaigning on not fixing the country, abortion for 3 trimesters. That's what the president told a Nevada crowd while campaigning. Not how he's going to fix the country, how he's going to make it better. He's campaigning on abortion. Because I feel like the plan has been to make the country worse. And so that's what they campaign on. They can't campaign on anything else. And what they do is they give us those little olive branches of a bipartisan border bill, but sends the majority of that money out of the country. Even the Fed's chair, Jerome Powell, says it's urgent for the U.S. to focus on debt and sustainability. He said the debt is growing faster than the economy, so it is unsustainable. It's time for us to get back to putting a priority on fiscal sustainability, and sooner is better than later. You could say that it's urgent, yes. Is it sustainable to then send $60 billion to Ukraine? 78% of that $118 billion border bill out of the country? Powell even recently admitted that he was wrong to expect inflation would be transitory when it started to rise 3 years ago. Transitory meaning temporary. Powell said in the fourth quarter of 21 that he called inflation transitory, but it's clear now that it's not. Powell and other Fed officials brushed off the rise in inflation in early 2021 because they thought it was temporary. But it's not. Here we are, 3 years later. And under Biden, the country has gotten progressively worse in just about every measurable area. Crime. Our cities are falling apart. Our infrastructure is falling apart. Our debt is at an all-time high. And all Biden can campaign on is abortion. That's it. Blows my mind. And the media doesn't cover any of it. The media doesn't give you any fair shake at what's really going on. Again, did you hear anywhere that a Trump official died after being carjacked in D.C.? Shot and killed? Of course not. Of course not. And this is what they want imported here to Tennessee. They want more high crime here. It blows my mind. It's 11:47 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Matt Murphy's on his way in next. We're going to talk to him, see what we can expect coming up on The Murphy Show. Hang out with us at Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Chris Hand joined in studio by Matt Murphy. What's up, Matt?
Hello, Chris Hand. How are you, sir?
I'm good, man. What do you got going on?
I don't know. Tuesday, beautiful outside. I wish we could do the show outside.
Wouldn't that be nice?
You know, just take it on remote into the parking lot on the roof, maybe.
That'd be cool.
It'd be nice, huh?
We probably could do it.
I mean, it does not feel like it's the middle of February, but it is. But yeah, I've got a couple of things going on this afternoon on the show. Very excited.
Is Heidi Campbell coming back on?
Heidi Campbell is not scheduled to come back on, but we do have a Democrat scheduled to be on the show. Afton Ben, who is the representative who was recently elected in a special election in Nashville to take over some person who died. I can't remember who it was. Sorry. And Afton is the representative who scheduled the transgender person to come in and give the opening prayer for the House of Representatives.
Oh, cool.
And Afton has also presented a bill before the Tennessee General Assembly to repeal the grocery tax, which I'm all about.
Yep.
I mean, I'm all about less taxes. So you just need to tell me that you're not going to take money from somewhere else, and I'm cool with that. If you're shrinking government, I'm cool with you. So we'll find out if she's really shrinking government. Somehow I doubt it.
Well, yeah, what's your gut tell you?
Nah. I mean, nah. Democrats don't shrink government.
No,
not a lot of Republicans shrink government nowadays.
Oh, my gosh.
I mean, so we'll see. That's at 12:30. And then Corey DeAngelis, who is a nationally known spokesperson and advocate for school choice. I've had him on the show before. I don't know. Have you talked to him?
I have not. But I follow him on Twitter. I've seen his stuff.
Sure. I mean, and he's and he is an advocate. He makes no bones about it. He is a proponent of school choice nationwide. So he's in town to promote the governor's proposal that he laid out last night in the State of the State. So we'll have him in studio, see what he has to say about it.
When do you think we're going to see what the legislation looks like on that?
This week, I think either late this week or early next week is what I'm told. The people that are drafting the real legislation, and I kind of went over this. I mean, I understand that people are like, oh, the bill's in place. It's Bill 16, whatever. Well, they put a placeholder there because they didn't have the actual bill ready. Everybody knows that it's a placeholder. That's why I called Heidi a liar, because she knows it's a placeholder. And she was like, well, I've read the bill. Well, no, you really haven't. You haven't. So I think later on this week, and I'm excited to see what protections they provide for private schools. And I'm an advocate for parental rights and parental freedom. I'm not, because I was characterized this way yesterday, I'm not advocating for this bill because I've never read it.
I think that, and I think that that's a big distinction. It's like,
right.
Like
I got to read the thing.
I love the idea.
Yeah, the concept is perfect.
Yes,
great,
exactly.
Wonderful, awesome. Let's read the devil's always in the details, right?
But and you pointed out yesterday, there's people on both sides who are just for it or against it, and they don't know why.
No, I mean, I think it's just concepts, right? Like the Democrats are trained, and much like SEALs, they do what they need to do to get the fish, and they're trained to protect teachers' unions and to protect big government at all costs. Yep. And so anything that supposes to nip around those edges, they're going to be against. The GOP, they're trained to fight against those types of things, and I think they're conditioned to fight against, bigger government or whatnot. They like to bring that back home to their constituents, and none of them know what's going to be in this legislation. So we'll see.
I'm looking forward to reading it.
Yeah, it'd be good.
I like your hat.
Yeah, the old my wife bought this. A buddy of mine, Norm Parton, asked me a couple of months ago if I wanted to go to the Savannah Banana game when they came to play the Nashville Sounds this coming season. And I thought it was weird. He's like asking me in November, do I want to go to a baseball game that's next May?
These things they're a hot ticket.
Apparently, I did not know that the Savannah Bananas were a really hot ticket. And so my wife, unbeknownst to me, decided to get us some, early swag for Christmas.
I like it.
In advance of our... So apparently we're rooting for the bananas as opposed to the Sounds.
Pro banana.
I'm a big fan of the banana.
Perfect.
Big fan. Savannah banana, big fan.
I saw the Harlem Globetrotters, and only guy in the audience rooting for the Generals.
I would have rooted for the Generals too.
All right,
come on.
Murphy's on his way in next. You can find him on Twitter at Matt Murphy Show. I'm on Twitter, Instagram, True Social at Chris Hand on Air. Thank you for being a part of the show. More on the way tomorrow. Hang out with us. It's Super Talk 99.7 WTN.